late night buses. I've hated them since I was a kid. Tonight was no different. As I entered, the bus was nearly empty. The driver, me, and one guy in the farthest back row. The interior smelled stale, like old fabric almost. Something about empty buses at night just feels wrong, like you're in the wrong place. When I boarded, the driver barely looked at me. He just kept his eyes straight ahead. There's only one other guy in the bus with me. He was in the second to last row, slouched forward. Didn't move when I got on, didn't react when the bus started moving. He just sat there like a statue. Told myself he was probably just asleep, but something did seem a little off about him, just the way his body moved when we went over bumps. When I was looking down my phone, I noticed that the driver looked back through the rearview mirror. He made eye contact with me for maybe 2 seconds, and then looked at the guy behind me. However, he must have stared in that direction for 15 seconds while driving. Then his eyes flickered forward quickly like he didn't want him to see him. I thought it was very odd, and I wanted to know what the driver was looking at. So I decided to casually try to stretch to turn around. Nothing was out of the ordinary, just still there in the third row of the bus. I eventually just decided that the driver was being weird, and I was too tired to care at this point. I slowly started to fall asleep to the hum of the bus. I immediately looked behind me, and there was nothing there. I must have been dreaming, I guess. It was a long day at work. That's when I did notice something, though. The guy in the back of the bus, he was in the last row when I first boarded. However, now it looked like he was in the fourth row of the bus. Was I wrong? Was he always there? Or maybe he moved just to get more comfortable. Either way, I didn't like it. He was now only 2 rows directly behind me on a large bus. His head was tilted slightly like he was watching me, but his hood still covered his face. I couldn't make out a single feature. I tried to shake it off just to my imagination. I looked forward for a while. Then I decided to glance back one more time. He was still on the window seat of the fourth row in the bus. Maybe 5-10 minutes passed. I thought I heard something behind me again. I looked behind, and the man now was still in the fourth row. However, he was in the aisle seat. I didn't know what to make of this. He kept moving throughout the bus to try to get closer to me. I decided that it was time that I moved closer to the front. I collected my things, and right as I stood up, the driver slammed on his brakes. I fell into the aisleway. The man in the fourth row fell as well. However, when he fell, I noticed that his head fell off and rolled towards me. I looked down at it. He was just a mannequin. The driver pulled over to the side of the road. As I grabbed the head and looked at the driver, asking him what's going on, the driver didn't answer me. He just kept his eyes straight as he grabbed the head from my hand, walked back slowly and steadily, like he already knew, and placed it back on the mannequin's head. Then he grabbed the mannequin's whole body and put him back on the last row of the bus. The driver muttered to me that I should just keep quiet about this. I decided that this whole ordeal was too weird for me. I stepped off the bus and called an Uber.